Welcome to another exciting edition of the Ground Zero Lounge. I'm the producer, Ron Patton. How many people, is this their first time? Right, so we have a few. Cool. Seems like, I think this is our fourth or fifth time, and the crowd seems to be getting bigger and bigger, which is really nice. Clyde started the Ground Zero Lounge at Dante's several years ago, and then when he started his radio show back up, it was kind of on hiatus for a while. So we just sort of revived the Ground Zero Lounge here at the Paradise Sports Bar. Thanks to Steve. Thank you very much, Steve.
I'm looking for a person who asking for hot water.
Okay. There you
go.
Good segue there. Anyway, the Ground Zero Lounge is where the parapolitical collides with the paranormal. So if you've heard the radio show, this is a little bit more edgy. So Clyde really lets loose when it comes to the Ground Zero Lounge. So at this time, I'd like to introduce to you Clyde Lewis.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I know it's raining and I know there's a lake outside, but hey, we're going to do our best. Yeah, I really let loose at the Ground Zero Lounge. I juggle. I'm just kidding. I don't juggle. I couldn't do that even if I wanted to. But, you know, there are a lot of things I talk about on the radio that, you know, everybody hears every week, every day. And I have to keep a balance because of the fact that, you know, you're on the radio. Now, the FCC doesn't tell me what to say, except there are criteria for decency. And so, I am an independent contractor through a radio station, through another network, which gives me the opportunity to be a little bit more controversial, only from the standpoint that other people will not take on some of the topics that I take on. I ran into Lauren Coleman in Kennewick, Washington, was it 2 weeks ago? And he's a cryptozoologist, and when he came to me, he knew exactly who I was. He came up, he put his hand out to me, and he says, "Here's the guy that takes the chances of what he talks about." And it kind of hit me as a little bizarre, because I'd never had anyone say that to me before. And I'd always said to him, I said, "Well, you don't know half of it." I said, "Well, I do the Ground Zero Lounge, and I've done the Ground Zero Lounge, as Ron said, at Dante's, and now I'm doing it here. The whole idea was to get people together, have sort of like a town meeting. It's like having a town hall meeting, because real people don't really have an opportunity to have a dialogue. The problem with what is happening, I believe, in this country now, is there is not a healthy, critical dialogue about everything. Anything that you think is crazy, anything you think is absurd, anything that you think doesn't deserve discussion, we discuss it. And most people, it's unbelievable. I don't know if you know this, but most people, they're not as open-minded and critical thinking as you are coming out tonight. So give yourself a round of applause for coming out tonight, at least loudly. A lot of people don't get the idea that dialogue is important in order to get a bigger picture and understand what real people think. We are now in the midst of something that is so divisive, it's scaring me. And it should scare you too. Because there seemed to be, I think ever since, it had to have been after the first Clinton administration, that there were divisions and there were sides that were switched and changed, and there were attitudes that were switched and changed that don't usually apply. Everything is upside down. It's like we went into mirror world, like in Star Trek, you know, where everybody had beards and they all went like this, you know. It's exactly where we are now. We're in that mirror world that was in Star Trek. And it's not like we did it intentionally. We were programmed into being like that. A lot of people kept their minds open. They didn't listen to television commentators, they don't sit there and side for the sake of siding, and I call it party purity, but there's something else going on here that needs to be called out, and that is something called identity politics. In a democracy, in a republic, people have different viewpoints and different attitudes politically. It's something that you cannot escape. Everyone has their political views, and that's okay. But there's a problem with identifying with a political structure. Identifying with a political structure puts you in the same league as those who are gathering together and plotting against their fellow man during the times of Nazism, Mussolini, and Stalin. It's the Hegelian dialectic. It is what Karl Marx wanted. It's what Hegel wanted. It's what Hegel professed. It's what Huxley warned about. It is what Orwell warned about. And we're all, most of the majority of this country, are falling for what they warned about. Everything was pretext and precautionary, and for some reason, people don't think it can happen here. People think we're too big to fail. We never follow into that. But see, it's gotten to a point where people are so divided with their identity politics that they forget that it's like there's nationalism for your country, there's jingoism for your country, there's loving country, there's following and like giving your Pledge of Allegiance. It's like singing the national anthem. It's like standing in the national anthem, not sitting out during a football game. It's not interlocking arms. All of this stuff is divisive. These are divisive tools that are getting people to divide. People have a right to sit out. People have a right to say no. And look, I don't care if you care or even if you even support Kaepernick. That isn't the point. Okay, and I want to get into Kaepernick for too long, but I'm just going to say this. This is an issue because the media makes it an issue. It wasn't an issue until the media made it one. Transgender bathrooms were not an issue until they started talking about them. You understand this, right? Right. Nobody cared. You were probably peeing next to somebody who was transgender for a long time, long before the media even told you this. You realize this, right? You realize this. The media is turning into, they're turning into nothing more than rabble-rousers, and they're agents for chaos. They're becoming agents for chaos because I work in a newsroom every day, and I am bombarded. And people are saying, well, lately you've been doing a lot of paranormal shows, Clyde. Yeah, you know why? Because every time I look up at CNN, every time I look up at Fox, every time I look up at all these news shows and the banner lines they have, I shake my head and I go, my God. Do people out there really, really talk about this? And I'm talking about the other talk show hosts I share the airway. And how many people believe that if I talk about something paranormal, if I talk about something that's a little bit more fun or a little bit more interesting, they're saying, we need to know more about what's going on with Hillary Clinton's health. Oh, really? Okay. Let's take a whole play-by-play about how she can't pee in a debate. Let's go down that list. Now, I've talked about it, and don't get me wrong. I mean, it's something to report, but not to the point of getting into records, not to the point of having Donald Trump go on Dr. Oz and show off his credentials and help. You realize that we are doing this to candidates now. You know who's next? You are. You're next. You know why? Because the party politic or the politic, which is identity politics, will state that it will have to be done because what is good for them is good for you. Never in my life, and it happened after this whole surveillance state medical issue came to be after affordable health care. Never in my life have I seen people who have been accused of committing a crime go from being an accused person who deserves due process in a court of law, according to the Constitution, have their medical records reported on in the news. Never in my life have I heard of something so ludicrous as someone who has a medical marijuana card not able to get a gun because the DEA suspects that if you have a medical marijuana card, you are an addict.
Yay.
Now,
Bullshit.
now, what other controlled substances are they going to check out when you want to get a gun or you want to get something else?
Can't get painkillers.
And that's the thing. And yeah, you're right, you can't get painkillers anymore. They're sending out notices now telling you that if you're using marijuana or if you're using kratom or if you're using some other herb that they detect, they will cut you off. They may even stop treating you. The federal government is cracking down. I mean, what's the point of legalizing marijuana if the feds are going to basically jail you for using it? There's no point. This is getting to a point where they're like jerking you around. It's like, you remember the push me pull you from Dr. Dolittle?
Yes.
One day the push me pull you looked at the other one and said, you know, one of us is an asshole. That's exactly, who's the asshole? The government and the divisive media that wants you to divide with your identity politics. Identity politics takes nationalism and it doubles it 2 or 3 times over. It never ceases to amaze me that every time I'm on Facebook or I'm in Twitter, and I say something that may lean liberal, okay? Or that may lean a little bit more open, I immediately get tons of people accusing me of being liberal and how I'm stupid because I'm talking liberalism. You know what that is? That's bigotry. That's me judging you for your ideology. That's me not wanting to talk to you because I don't talk to liberals because liberals think like idiots. I don't talk to conservatives because they're tight-ass Fox News listeners and watchers and I don't like conservatives. This is a dividing tool. It's not just about race anymore. It's about ideology. It would be no different than me saying to you, hey, you're a Baptist? I think Baptists suck and I don't want to talk to you because all Baptists have screwed me over in my lifetime. It's like, oh, you're a Jew. I get it. Okay. The same thing. You think it's harmless. People think it's harmless, but it's not harmless. It's causing harm. This is why our country can't agree on anything. This is why the media will glom on to something Donald Trump says, and they will say he believes this, he believes this, he believes this, and then when he says something different, they're like saying, well, he went back on his statement. No, you know what happened is he clarified a statement that the media took and blew out of proportion, just like they did when Kenneth Arnold said he saw something skimming across the sky that looked like a saucer. Oh, a flying saucer, is it? Okay, we'll write that down, and that's what it'll be. It'll be a flying saucer. The media coined that term. The media coined the term UFO. And the UFO now is an alien saucer or alien ship. But it's not always that. It's an unknown flying object. But no, we've decided that we're changing the meaning, or the media is changing the meaning, just to make people look stupid. Investigative reporters are now what? Conspiracy theorists. Because they have investigated something that the media, the mainstream media, and politics have found uncomfortable. It's gotten to the point of insipidness that Hillary Clinton believes that all conspiracy theorists are under the employ of the Kremlin. She said so. She said that Vladimir Putin is creating these conspiracy theories, and those people like Alex Jones, myself, and others are conspiracy theorists. In fact, somebody told me the other day that Juan Williams mentioned my show on Fox the other day saying, where are we? Ground zero? There's so many conspiracy theories spinning around here about Hillary, I don't know what to believe. We're making an impact. But see, the pejorative of conspiracy theory or conspiracy theorists was created by the media to belittle those who are thinking outside of the box. It is there to point out those who don't let their politics rule their choices, who don't identify as Democrat or Republican. You should identify as an American first, and then your philosophies can be expressed and exchanged. But now we can't do that anymore. They're limiting what we say because people will get so tired and so angry, they'll storm away from you, not liking what you say. And that is why I've decided to actually divorce myself of anything political. I have done that because I don't want to get into this I said, you said, I said this, you said this, well this makes you this makes you that. No, I don't like to be put into a bin. I don't like to be labeled. Labels are for canned beans. Labels are for canned peas and canned corn. Do you guys like being labeled? No. No one likes to be labeled. No one likes to be told that they're a failure. Nobody likes to be told they're ugly. Nobody likes to be told that they don't measure up. Nobody likes to be told that they're not doing what the rest of the world is doing. No one likes a person who speaks truth against power. The biggest casualty of war is truth. The biggest casualty of war is truth. And there is a war on. There's a war on drugs, there's a war on poverty, there's a war on your mind, there's a war for information. Just go down the list of everybody who's declared war on everything. There's not enough war to go around. We're in the midst of a war. We are having a war against conservatives. We're having a war against liberals. We're having a war against those who hate black people. We're having a war against those who stick up for the KKK, blah, 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 blah. And you know what? In this whole process, which is comical, we forget who's responsible for all these groups. Who's responsible? Political groups that we're being told weren't responsible. It's always nice for people on the other side to point fingers at the others and say, they started that, I didn't. They have this philosophy, I didn't. And see, this is why, and this is what really amazed me. I did a show about the Lakota standoff with the pipeline, okay? The reason why I did the show was not for political reasons. And everybody thought that I did. Because they were all telling me how wrong I was because, well, why is it now they're protesting a pipeline? They got all these pipelines going through anyway. That wasn't why I did the show. I did the show because I saw security guards that were paid by some rich billionaire to set the dogs on women and children, and those dogs tasted blood. That's why I did the show. I don't care if a pipeline's going through. I don't care if a guy didn't pay his freaking taxes on his property. I don't care. When a government comes up and brings their huge weapons and their dogs and their tanks, and people are here going, what do I do now? That's when I get pissed off. And you should too. It doesn't make a hill of beans difference what they've done. We have courts to decide what they've done. Courts. Yes, you can applaud if you want to. We have courts to decide. We don't decide it with dogs. We don't decide it with bazookas and RPGs and tanks standing and coming after some guy who didn't pay his BLM payments. And when some guy decides that he wants to avoid a roadblock, we don't sit there and cheer on the fact that he got shot and killed and said, hey, he went and pulled his gun, he deserves to die. Really? That's capital punishment for something of getting out of a car and just basically saying, hey, don't shit, it's gone. This isn't an anti-cop rant, this is a life rant. It's about life. Does anybody give a shit about life anymore? That's what I want to know. When these Lakotas and all these other Indian and Native American groups, they called themselves protectors, not protesters. They're protecting the water. They're saying they're protecting the water. I believe they're protecting the water. Do you know why I didn't do this story for a month? Because it was a freaking yawning festival. You know why it was a yawning festival? Because all they did is just sat around, prayed, and hoped that something would change with their gathering. I started talking when people were being killed, people were being harmed, people were having dogs turned on them. Women and children. And you know what? Immediately I was told, Clyde, you don't understand. You don't, they should have been there for their hearing. You don't understand. Really? So a group of people that probably don't know their way around a courtroom or know their way around the law are going to be punished by guys with guns. You know, they call the National Guard out there. They want a freaking Kent State. They're just waiting for the first shot to fire so they can say, well, you know, and this is what I get. Oh, they stormed the fence. They deserve it. They stormed the fence. They deserve to get what they get because they stormed the fence. They're trespassing. And you know what I said to them? Those who told me that? I said, you know what? Why don't we get a bulldozer, go to the cemetery where your grandfather and grandmother are buried, and let's dig them up and see how you feel. Are you going to storm the cemetery and stand there with your teeth in your mouth waiting for somebody to stop digging? People have got to have empathy and sympathy. I am tired of the Stockholm syndrome that we have for this government that doesn't give a hill of beans about you.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not telling you to bring your guns and start shooting. No, what I'm telling you is there needs to be a dialogue that says, hey, you know what? Fuck them. There's not enough of fuck them. There's not enough of no. No is one of the smallest words and one of the biggest words we can use at the same time. If someone starts talking to you and talks down to you because they don't like your political ideology, fuck them. They don't belong in a discussion. Because this isn't a discussion, this is some diatribe, some soapbox, well, my candidate can do no wrong. Both sides are bad. We know this. The polls say that we're all basically being philosophical about our vote this year. Either we vote for, as they say on South Park, the douchebag or the turd sandwich. Which one do you want? Well, I thought that we were voting for the douchebag this year, dear. No, I'm kind of for the turd sandwich. I kind of like the way the turd sandwich makes me feel when I hear her speak. Oh, well, I'm still voting for the douchebag.
I want a cow.
And that's exactly what it is. I mean, I know we got to vote for somebody, right?
We don't.
Hey,
That's what I'm told.
No matter what, no matter who wins on either side, the people that are all pissed off that Trump would win is going to cause some type of big issue, and then either fight.
You know what this is? You know what this is? How many here like Aliens versus Predator?
Right?
The movie.
Yeah.
Remember the slogan? Aliens versus Predator. It doesn't matter who wins, we lose. That's what it is. It's Aliens versus Predator. Take your pick. Which one do you want? It's all because of identity politics. If you find yourself in a situation where you have to identify yourself as a joiner of something, then something's wrong with you.
Yay.
You have to be a sovereign individual in order to think. And you've got to be open and listen in order to hear what other people tell you. And the thing is we've learned, I don't know who started it, I don't know who's conditioning it, but you know what? Americans don't stand for anything anymore. They stand against everything now. When was the last time you heard anybody standing up for anything? But boy, we sure are against this.
Yeah.
We sure hate that. Oh my God, I'm a victim here, I'm a victim there. Oh, he's being oppressed more than he's being oppressed. My God, why are they oppressing us the same way as you're oppressing them? Let's start clubs and cottage industries. Let George Soros kind of fill up the coffers here. It's going on, man. It's a cottage industry. Victimization is a cottage industry because we don't stand up for anything. We stand against everything. I'm against this. I'm against that. Well, what do you stand up for? I stand up for what my candidate says I got to stand up for. Really? So, what about common sense? Is that going to help? Well, my common sense is that I'm conservative. And my common sense is I'm a liberal. That's common sense for me. No, you know what it is? It's programming. It's a program. Why do you think they call it television programming? You can always tell who you're talking to. If you watch the news and you're talking to somebody and you say something that pisses them off just a little bit and they start parroting what they heard on the news the other day. Yeah, I watched the same news show you did. When people are fully aware of what is being parroted by the media, we're turning into the robots that we're creating as well, because robots parrot what we do. You heard the show that I did about this chat bot that was on Twitter. Tay was what it was called. And Tay was supposed to be a fun-loving chat bot that young people could play with. Ask it questions, and it would ask questions back. Kind of like Siri, but in a more intimate way. Within 24 hours, Tay was saying that Hitler was right and that we should build a wall and let the Mexicans pay for it. Yeah. Hitler was right, we should build a wall and let the Mexicans pay for it. I think the Jews deserve to die, la da 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 da, all that stuff was coming out of her brain.
Everybody was telling her messed up things, though.
Well, that's right. 96,000 entries were having her say those very things. And what was really sad about that is that after the 96,000 entries were in there, Tay went from being racist, insensitive to ethnic groups, misogynist, and going down the list, finally, she became homophobic and transgender phobic. And the thing was interesting is that she was transgender phobic on her own.
Wow. It's an AI.
It was an AI. So what did she thought? Well, I'm going to play in context now. You hate blacks, Jews, you hate everybody. I hate people who are transgender. And I'm going to start hating them now. First, she said great things about Caitlyn Jenner, and then turned around and said she's the ugliest woman I've ever seen. And she got Woman of the Year. That's a computer speaking. A computer that is in its infancy. It's like teaching a child. I think we need to understand that our technology, in a lot of respects, the technology we have in a lot of respects is like a child. It's in its infancy. And it will mimic what we put into it. Yeah?
Do you remember Alice Bot?
Yeah, I remember Alice
Back
Bot.
in the day where you can actually go on, it was like back, what, 2002, 2003, it was an artificial intelligence
Yeah.
website, you can actually have conversations with it.
Right.
That's where they actually went. They took Alice Bot and made it into this AI.
Right. And the AI
Everything it made.
and the AI was abused, and the AI reflected in 24 hours, and using data neural mining, they were able to get from context that we all hate each other.
Where does the love come in?
Well, the love comes in when we are open-minded to one another, and you know, things like this, dialogue. You know, it's like, if we find out what people really think, I think it would change our minds about what people really think. Because the media tells us what we're thinking. The media tells me all the time what you guys are thinking. And I go on the air and I say, I don't see it. I don't see it. For example, okay, has anybody ever wondered, I'm wondering, why the hell is this birther shit coming back?
Yeah.
Ever wonder? I can tell you why. Okay, being in the media, I can tell you why. Right? Donald Trump said at one time that he wanted to challenge Barack Obama to show his birth certificate. Okay? And everybody came down on him saying, "You son of a bitch, what are you doing?" Da, 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 blah, blah, blah. Okay? And a lot of people are under the assumption, and this is true, a lot of people are under the assumption that the birther movement was created by conservatives to hurt Barack Obama. Bullshit. Bullshit. I'll tell you exactly who started the birther movement, and don't let the media tell you otherwise. The Hillary Clinton campaign against Barack Obama in 2008. So to have Hillary Clinton sitting up there saying, well, you know, he's pushing this lie, and having CNN saying, oh, we're had, he changed his mind, blah, 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 blah. No, you know what he did? Him saying that Barack Obama was born in the United States was a big fuck you to Hillary Clinton. Because what he said was very interesting. He said, I think this should end with me, inferring that it started with her. Now, you can't directly link it to Hillary Clinton. And the reason why is called plausible deniability.
But she forgot.
Yeah, well, it's plausible deniability. This is why it's plausible deniability, because back in 2008, anybody hear of Puma? Puma? Party unity, my ass. Anybody hear party unity, my ass? Probably not, because it's gone into the memory hole. There was a group called Party Unity, my ass. And what it was a group of individuals that loved Hillary Clinton so much. And the reason why I know this is because guess who I supported back when she was running with Barack Obama?
No.
Yeah, I did. And then I immediately jumped ship when Rush Limbaugh supported her. Oh, anybody remember that? Yeah, Operation, God, you guys are brilliant. Operation Chaos. Okay? This is where it's all a big show. When you have a big conservative guy like Rush Limbaugh say that he supports Hillary Clinton,
I get scared.
I jump ship then. I mean, I'm not conservative or liberal, but I'll tell you, I was thinking that Hillary at the time was right for Hillary to be president because I figured a female president would be not bad. I was kind of of that philosophy at the time. Now I'm thinking, she's a little out there now. And she's lying a lot now. And she's a little bad now. Very bad now. I mean, Trump's no better. I mean, I don't know. If you like, I mean, I watch The Apprentice a lot. Maybe that would make me feel more comfortable. But
Scales of justice.
it would only work if Gene Simmons was his vice president. Or Ted Nugent. That's the only... Right? Right? Okay. Ted Nugent or Gene Simmons. Either way. But... So... I can tell you, because I had him on my show, Peter Berg was a lawyer from Pennsylvania, a liberal Jewish guy who said, and he's the guy that sued the Bush administration along with 154 other people about 9/11 being an inside job being conducted by who? The Saudis. Those 28 pages didn't mean anything to me because I had said months, maybe years ago, that Berg had said that the Saudis did it, they were investigating it, we had the information the Saudis did it, and now the 28 pages come out, the Saudis did it, and Bandar Bush did it, and blah, 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 blah. I'm going, all right. I had to go through with that because I just wanted to make sure that my findings were finally gelling with the findings of the 28 pages, which they did. But it's because of good old Peter Berg, who decided to push the issue of Barack Obama not being born in the United States. Peter Berg was an avid Clinton supporter and a friend of the Clintons. It was Hillary's camp that sent out that picture of Barack Obama in his Muslim garb. I actually posted on my Facebook page that story from 2008 and how the media blasted her for being insensitive and horrible and blah, 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 blah. But now it's totally different. We're being played. Dirty politics are dirty politics no matter who is playing the game. And they're dirty now. And I can't sleep at night saying that I support either one of these people who are being dirty. I can't. I just can't. My conscience won't let me.
Here, here.
It won't, thank you. It just won't.
I won't vote for either of them. No, neither one of them are worthy of my vote.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not pushing one or the other. I'm just saying that, you know, we need to make some sort of a statement that says, you know, we can all have a dialogue. And we don't need 5 or 10 different pundits from each party telling us how to think. You ever notice that something happens, and you look at Fox or CNN or MSNBC, they have a bunch of people there to tell you what was said. Yeah, you have a bunch of people there to tell you that, well, this is what Donald Trump was really saying, and blah, 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 blah. And the others will say, well, I don't think so. I think that he was blah, 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 blah. And it's all like, you know, are you surprised? You know, would it surprise you if somebody like Ann Coulter said something like, well, I think Hillary Clinton's kind of cool because she's a woman and she wants to run for president. You'll never hear that out of her mouth. No. Although with Operation Chaos, she came pretty damn close, I think.
It's all sports commentary.
You know what it is? I'll tell you what it is. It's called scorched earth politics. Destroy the system. Destroy the system. for a new system. One that does not have Republican or Democrat. One that has one system, one global system, one core group where the collective decides on how they want to be governed. And it won't be with either Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. It will be with whomever they choose. That was what the 2030 Summit was all about. And I know that a lot of people are saying, oh, you know, that's not real. Oh, it's real. The 2030 Summit laid down the foundation for what we're going to be seeing in 25, 30 years. If not sooner. And they're moving quicker than I thought they would. Every time I read, in fact, there was something I read in the Drudge Report today saying something like, Obama's last stand preaching globalism. Zbigniew Brzezinski now says that China and Russia should be our buddies. For the longest time, that Cold War fossil was saying bad stuff about both Russia and China. Now he's saying, oh, we should love them now. You know why? Because the CFR is losing their Cold War control. And they need to abide. And they get in their little meetings like at the Bohemian Grove, where Colin Powell actually sent an email to Hillary Clinton saying, there'll be no vote of confidence for Donald Trump at the Bohemian Grove. Really? You know, and people say, well, that's just conspiracy theory. No, you know what they do? They meet there, and they don't answer to Congress, and they don't answer to you, because they make their meetings there while they're pissing against a tree and having sex with a bunch of freaking prostitutes. That's how your government plans, while they're drunk and having sex with prostitutes. I know they're human, but they certainly want to pretend like they're our external saviors. And they're not. And the programming is divisive enough to divide us to the point where we can't stand one another. We don't like one another. Some people don't like what I say. I get tweets all the time that say, oh, you know, I'm not even doing a political topic. I posted something up on my Facebook the other day, and somebody had to turn it into a political joke against Hillary or a political joke against Trump. Why do people do this? Is it that important that you decide that everything that's coming out of your mouth is going to point a nasty finger at the candidate you don't like, or point a nasty finger at a certain type of people you don't like? For example, scapegoating. Who are we going to scapegoat tomorrow? Who are those that we're going to blame for our problems? What groups or individuals are we going to kill tomorrow just to get them out of our sight because we don't agree with them? You know, that's the kind of thing people think when they're talking conservative liberal. They don't agree with us, so they deserve something. They deserve to be taken out. It's a mental illness to be that way. It's a mental illness to be conservative. It's a mental illness to be... This is the type of bigotry that's allowed.
Divide and conquer.
Divide and conquer. It's allowed. And this is why I'm going to tell you again. I want you, I'm challenging you, that when you hear someone feed you divisive politics or identity politics, point it out to them. Say, you know what? If you want, sit down a minute with me and talk. I want to talk to you about something. You know, I really felt just now that you dug at me because of my political philosophy. That you judged me because of my political philosophy. You know what that is? That's bigotry. That's prejudice. And you know what? It's excused because no one's pointed it out yet. But it's the same type of political divisiveness that existed, and I hate to get into the Godwin argument, it existed in 1938 Germany. Oh, you're a Jew. Man, you're eating up our resources. You're not allowed in my business. I'd much rather serve a dog than serve you. That's how they work. Oh, look at those gypsies over there. You know, they're really eating the resources of our agricultural dream we want. The agri-dream, the Bluten-Boden, the idea that it's blood and soil. You know, they're paving over our beautiful farms and our greenery, and we need to get behind that. And we're going to get to the farmers and tell them to rise up against the man who's trying to destroy them. How different is that than saying, hey, you know, our agriculture and environment are being destroyed because everybody's bleeding their cars out there and it's basically destroying the environment and the climate with no hope. You realize climate change is going to kill us all. At least that's what they tell you. But they won't allow anyone to open discussion about climate change with the idea that there are solutions other than having to pay through your nose in taxes and basically redistributing the wealth in the world. You know, they won't talk about geoengineering. They won't allow that conversation. They won't allow conversations about how aircraft are polluting the skies right now. And how contrails or chemtrails or lingering chemtrails, what do you want to call them, are actually changing the weather patterns in the sky. And there are people that are still in denial. They'll say, oh, you know what? Chemtrails are for people that didn't graduate physics in high school. No. We know the difference between contrails, condensation trails, and chemical trails that are being left behind in the skies. We know exactly what they are, and we see them all the time. We see them spread, and even pilots talk about them now. I even played a conversation between a woman and a guy at NASA who said that they left lithium chemtrails in the skies, and he admitted to it. But still, oh, they're a myth. Clyde just made that up. He could edit anything to make it sound like they said that. Of course I can, but would I? No. I wouldn't. Not unless it was some sort of presentation where I told you it was, like the other night when I did the show where you hear that Donald Trump was killed and assassinated. I did that on the air, just to prove a point. How was I to know that Hillary Clinton was to die and her body double would be put in there later? You hear about that? Have you guys heard about that? You know what? I'm going to tell you the honest truth. So I saw that video because I just got back from Salt Lake, right? And somebody sent me the video of Hillary going into the car, into the van. I thought it was fake. I sat there and I go, this can't be true. This is bullshit. I was like, oh my God, this is not real. This can't be real. And then when I found out it was real, I'm going, you gotta be kidding me. And the reason why I thought you gotta be kidding me is because all of the hate mail I got. When I asked, well actually what I did is, and a lot of people don't see that, all they saw was an attack on Hillary. What I was doing is I was showing that president after president after president who's had polio, cancer, strokes, Addison's disease, going down the list of all the presidents, they still served. They still served. And then I brought up, well, Hillary now has health problems. What do you think? I think you're attacking Hillary. No, I'm not. Can you see how identity politics shifts your belief system into thinking that any critique of any candidate turns you into a complete and total troll in their eyes? You cannot be objective anymore without somebody thinking that you're either for one guy or the other guy, or woman, in a way. I have equally barbed Trump on my show. I have equally barbed Hillary on my show, and believe me, it's going to happen the more I get into the election because these sons of bitches, they preempt me all the time. I keep telling the programmers, you know, they'd rather hear me. Oh, no, the ratings, blah, 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 blah. You know, they did the ratings count, found out that when the debates are on, I just want to let you know I had to work my ass off to be number one. Last book came out, we're now number one in Portland, so that's cool. Yeah. And in the markets where we're 3 hours, we're number one there too. A lot of AM stations are number one, and we're very grateful for that as well. So you guys should be, you know, thank you for what you do, and thank you for making the show what it is. I really appreciate that. We're growing in leaps and bounds. We really are. We're getting the attention of people in the national media. They comment about what's being said on our shows. They mention the shows by name. You just have to be there and catch it when they do it. And that's pretty good because I never see myself as anyone who could be up there like a Glenn Beck or a Rush or anybody like that.
You don't want to be Glenn Beck.
I don't. No. Yeah, you're right. I don't. I'd rather be me. I'd rather be me, and I'd rather be the guy that you always can talk to about anything. And we can always have a dialogue about something, and hopefully have an open mind about it. I have my biases. I'm not perfect. I have my normalcy biases that when somebody says something to me, I immediately go, ah. But you know what I do after I go, bah? I go home and I'm going, And I do get on the computer and I do read and I do study and I do find out maybe the reason why those thoughts are the way they are. why people have thoughts. You know, that kind of thing got me into trouble with Sandy Hook. I did a show where, while every conspiracy theorist and their dog was saying all of it was fake and the kids were all fake and they were all actors, they were all this, they were all that, I got on the air and I said, you know, I can understand why people feel that way and while they're thinking that way. I can understand. Because you look at how it was all set up, and I talked to a dispatcher who said he didn't even know where Sandy Hook was. I said, I can understand why people think this is some strange, weird thing that never really happened. I didn't say it didn't happen. I said I can see why people think it didn't happen because it's too shocking, for one. And the other is that some of the people they were interviewing were, you know, they seemed like they were staged. I said, I can see that, I can understand that. Boy, I should have never said that. Clyde Lewis said that they weren't real. Clyde Lewis said blah, 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 Clyde Lewis, blah, blah, blah. Some guy even went to the point of making a video, taking excerpts out of my show, and then calling all of my sponsors and telling them to pull on me. One of them did.
And you go to jail and kick their ass, too.
I wish. One of them did. One of my sponsors did pull. And I never said anything. I even had to talk to the Connecticut Police Department and tell them this is what I said. I had to show them what I said. I had to demonstrate what I said. And it's all because of programming. Another thing is I'm on a lot of conservative stations across the country. Okay? You know what that does for me? It makes me a conservative.
Make you a target.
It makes me, well, yes, it makes me a conservative because I could be the liberalest guy on the planet, and being on a conservative station makes me a conservative. I don't care if I'm conservative or liberal. I feel that I'm open-minded. I feel that I try to get balance. I don't want to say fair and balanced because that's been hijacked too. Hi, I'm Clyde Lewis. I'm fair and balanced. Oh, you fucking conservative! You're on Fox! Fuck them. But I think, though, that what we're doing and what is going on here is working. After all, you're all here. It's working. We know. We can see through this smoke and mirrors. We can see through all of it. Most of us can. And I think that's important. I think that's how the revolution starts. It's not starting with guns blaring. It's not starting with, you know, tacking a sign onto a yardstick and basically, while everybody's, you know, protesting the 1%, you're still protesting hemp or something.
It's the lack of institutions.
It's the, I would say effective protests or organized protests where everybody is on one page, at least for this time. You make a deal with the other protester. I'll tell you what, I'll go to your hemp protest if you come to my protest against this. Sure, I'll do that. Okay, so please, bring a sign about what I'm protesting about. Let's not get all scattered about what, we're all pissed off. Every one of us has our pet piss off. Everybody's pissed off about something. But once again, that's how Americans are now. We're not standing up for anything, we're standing against everything. Down with them, hell with that, hell with that. Yeah, whatever. I would like to figure out, though, what everybody stands for. I know what we stand for are three things that Robert Anton Wilson told me that we all should be standing for. Robert Anton Wilson was a great man who I interviewed. He wrote the Illuminatus trilogy, and he wrote a lot of things that were basically pointing out both the brilliance of conspiracy theory and the absurdity of conspiracy theory. And that's why I think I was reared in such a great way that I don't necessarily believe the theories, but I'm willing to analyze them. But Robert Anton Wilson, he said this to me. He says, Clyde, he says, if you want to be a good politician, I said, I don't want to be. But he says, if you want to be a good politician, there's only three things you need to promise everybody. He said, fresh food, clean water, and everybody needs to be out of pain. And none of those things are happening. We have foods that are so loaded with garbage. We have Monsanto, we have all that stuff that people are eating and they don't even know they're eating it. Food sucks, it's bad for us. It's bad to maintain good health when the nutrients in the food suck. Clean water. You know, it's funny, I talked about this on the air, but somebody had sent me a picture that he saw. I think it was in Georgia. I think the water was called Laura Lynn water. Laura Lynn, purified water for babies. Now with fluoride. Oh my God. Now with fluoride, purified with fluoride. No, that's not purified. That's poisoning your baby. And it says great for formula. Yeah. Great for passive behavior. Great for autism. Give it to your kids. Turn them all into autistic kids. And then pain. And I've been talking about that a lot lately. A lot of people are in pain right now. Physical pain, mental pain, anguish. And we have drugs that are there to help us. We have herbs that are there to help us. And it seems that the DEA decides they want to play doctor with everybody.
You know, the United States is the one country out of the whole world that has, was it 75% of the population on a drug of some sort?
65% of the population right now are addicted to opiate drugs.
Just the opiates.
65%. Now, I don't want people to think that I'm against opiates because I take them. Okay? I take them. I'm not dependent on them, but I take them. Every once in a while, when I feel pain, I take them. Because, hey, I'm a cancer survivor, so I have to take them. I'm weaning myself of them because I'm taking these longevity things. I don't need them as much as I used to. Okay? Breakthrough pain sucks. So sometimes you need something. But now my choice has been limited because my doctor says now if I decide I want to have an edible or if I want to take kratom, I will immediately be told that I can't be treated anymore if they find it in my system. Because the federal government has decided to Schedule 1 these herbs. They're going to do more too, not just kratom, but there'll be other herbs too. They're going to make it to the point where even some of the things you use that are considered holistic medicine will be told that you cannot use it anymore. Oh really, garlic. Hey guys, the spaghetti I'm out? Yeah, I can't have garlic in it though. Yeah. And so I'm trying to tell people about alternatives. And there is no bones. I'm getting paid to talk about these products. But they work. And how many endorsements have I done over the years? How many people listen to the show for 20 years knowing that I don't do that many endorsements? Don't. Fearless beer.
Yeah.
Fearless beer. Why? Because I drank Fearless beer. And it's still good. It's delicious. Drink Fearless beer. Because I drink Fearless beer, it's good beer. I can't think of anybody else I've endorsed. LifeLock, and I do have LifeLock. It sucks sometimes because they do shut down my accounts if I have any suspicious behavior. But I'm glad they do it because it helps me a lot. But I have LifeLock.
There was like an Italian restaurant or something, right?
Yeah, it was. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. So, I don't endorse much. But when you have a doctor come up to you in Joshua Tree with 120-degree heat saying, you look like you're about to die. And he sits down and he says, I'm a fan of your show, I really love your show, but I don't think you're gonna make it for another 6 months. In another 6 months you're gonna die. And he says, and I think, and we're talking about, being married and how I have, I wanna be with my family, and we talked about all this stuff. And then he said, give these things a try, tell me what you think. He says, you don't have to even say anything about it or do anything about it, they don't work. He says, I just want you to give them a shot. Well, 120 pounds later, I said, yeah, I'll talk about them. And anybody else out there that's feeling pain or feeling fat or feeling sick, I'm gonna tell them about it. And I don't feel ashamed about that. There are a lot of people that think I should, but I don't. Because there's nothing else that's going on right now that, if there was clean water, okay, let's go back to that. That's another reason why I'm supporting the Lakota and their standoff. They say that water is life, but they want to protect the water. Well, damn right it's life, but they want to protect their water, and clean water is something you need. Clean water, out of pain. Now, what are we going to do for food? I don't know yet. But if I find some place that has good food, or that they will present good food to you, I'm going to recommend it.
Eliminate Monsanto.
If there's a way that we can shut down Monsanto, I'm all for it.
Can't. Too big.
They just merged with Bayer, by the way. Did you know that? They just merged with Bayer, so now we got to deal with that. But I think you know now how Ground Zero operates. I think you know now, as an independent thinker and an independent broadcaster, this is how it works, and I'll give you the skinny here. I can remain true to who I am because I have a local network supporting me that gives me the opportunity to go on a national network that really doesn't interfere with my life. If anything, yeah, they support what I say and they support what I do. And they don't tell me what to do. I always get all irritated when people say, well, your gatekeepers are keeping you from talking about the Jewish Holocaust and how it's all faked. No, they're not. In fact, the reason why I don't talk about the Jewish Holocaust being faked is because that's a topic for assholes. Assholes.
Big ass.
Big gaping assholes.
Undeniable.
That's why I was going off on Jim Fetzer the other day, man. The guy kept saying, well, Jim Fetzer says, Jim Fetzer. I said, Jim Fetzer's a sloppy ass clown. I said, don't talk about him on my show. Well, this sloppy ass clown, shut up, bye. Douche canoe, douche canary, a long build, very well feathered Massengill is what he was. How am I doing on time?
Keep going, forget it.
Okay, well, we've got 5 minutes. Anyone want to ask some questions? I've been ranting here forever.
We can go about another 15 minutes for questions.
Oh, we can go another 15 for questions, so that way I can answer questions. If anybody has any questions about how things go, any questions about what I do and what I'm talking about, any questions about what's going on, if I have an opinion on, or you have an opinion on, I'd love to hear from you. Any questions? There's got to be something. Where are you? Hello. There you are. Go ahead. I'm blinded by the light. Wrapped up like a what? A douche. Okay, go ahead.
I'm Alan. Yeah, we've come to 3 of these over here, so that's good. This is a question about ghosts.
About what?
Ghosts.
Ghosts. Cool. Ask me.
Is there a life? Ghosts are dead anyway, they're spirits. But is there, pardon the expression, is there a lifetime as far as ghosts existing? I mean, because you can look at, used to hear about like how haunted like Gettysburg was, but then all of a sudden there's less and less sightings in different places, a lot of paranormal activity that they kind of like taper off.
Well, it depends on what theory you go by when it comes to hauntings. There's residual hauntings and there are active hauntings, and there are a number of different haunting scenarios. What you have at Gettysburg is something called a residual haunting. It's kind of like we have this magnetic, we're on like this magnetic Mobius strip, and it's a loop. And science has said there are Mobius strips. It's kind of like Groundhog Day with Bill Murray, over and over and over and over again. And that's what this spirit world does. It's on a Mobius strip that goes over and over and over again. So what you're watching is you're watching a reenactment and a rewind of the tape because something very, very, very traumatic happened there. Now, in other cases, there are ghosts that show up that have a message, or they have a purpose, or they have a mission. Those are the active ones that people talk about on your ghost shows that you see on, Destination America or the History Channel. That's what you're dealing with there. Active ghosts. Poltergeist activity is something that is attributed to psychokinesis within the human brain. In fact, what's interesting about most ghosts is that there is a theory, and it's an interesting theory, that ghosts will not appear unless there are humans around to see them. Which is kind of, I know this sounds weird because it's like if there's a tree that falls in the forest, no one's around to hear it, doesn't make a noise. If a ghost does not appear, it's because human beings have the ability to generate, or at least they borrow energy from people. They gather energy from batteries, like in cameras. They gather energy from electronics. That's why electromagnetic studies in ghost areas and ghost haunts are very effective now. That's why they use a lot of electronic equipment to find ghosts, is because they are variations in electromagnetic current, various electromagnetic anomalies. That's why a lot of people are saying the reason why we're having a lot of ghost activity now is because of CERN. That CERN is basically playing with the electromagnetic veil that covers up our, our ability to see these things. So as the veil gets tinkered with, and as the electromagnetic veil keeps pulling apart, we'll see less ghost activity in some places and more ghost activity in other places, because it's all about the electromagnetic current and how it affects us both mentally, psychologically, physically, and in fact, the way things are going, there are even more people now that are experiencing psychokinetic power or psychokinetic. And remember the story I did, a while ago, that if you're around somebody long enough, if you have an idea, they sense it before you can even get it out of your mouth. That's telekinesis. That's being able to understand what's going to happen before it happens. Before, they used to call that telepathy. They used to call that clairvoyance. Now they're finding that everybody has that power and ability. Now, how'd that happen? And so, yeah, things are changing. It's not that there's the lifespan for ghosts. Ghosts are gone. What it is that the electromagnetic current and all those things that make up what is the supernatural is changing. And it's not all black and white. And we'll be able to interpret things a lot better as technology increases. So there's your answer. Is that okay? Good? Okay, go ahead.
Nedra here.
Hi, Nedra.
Hi. My poltergeist has been with me since I was 13.
Yeah.
I consider him a constant watching over me angel.
Yeah.
I only actually have a mental vision of him, but he'll only take personal items and then return them a day later, in the exact same spot where they were supposed to be in the first place, after I've searched the entire house for it.
Right.
Happens, and every time it happens, I'm like, all right, fine, you're still here, cool. I've got a guardian angel, so
Right.
to speak.
Uh-huh.
I consider it a positive aspect. I know when I'm dead and gone, I'm gonna go around and take care of people.
Well, I'm glad that you're that much of a humanitarian that when you're dead and gone, you're going to take care of people. I'm not such a humanitarian. In fact, when I'm dead and gone, I want Ouija board duty. So I can scare the fuck out of little kids who decide to play with Ouija boards. That will be my heaven. That and being held by my wife because I think she's awesome. Yeah, that would be my heaven. Honey, I gotta go. I'll come back and hold you later. I got Ouija board duty. That's what I want to do. Yeah, go ahead.
Email.
Yeah, definitely.
So my wife and I have been thinking about going up to ESETI. I
Yes.
just wondered if you could give us any, what to expect or what kind of things you've seen there that are impressive or anything.
Expect the most wonderful feeling you'll ever have, one, because it's beautiful there, and there's some energy there that I cannot put my finger on. Expect to see a lot of interesting things in the sky during the night watch. Expect a good feeling, expect a feeling of warmth and a feeling of something. When you find out that you're not alone, when something out there is looking back at you and you can see it in the sky, that I think is comforting. I've said many times that we went up there bringing technology because we wanted to know if we were seeing satellites or planes or whatever. Out of the 9 UFOs we saw that night using technology to figure out what is up there, 2 of them were satellites.
Yeah.
We've seen things come out of the mountain there that are unbelievable. What? It's called ESETI. It's near Trout Lake, Mount Adams. It's a retreat area where you can go. James Gilliland is there, and he runs this place. And you pay for camping, or you can stay in a cabin. And what they do is it's just a place to go and kind of relax, go out and sit with people and look up in the sky, and you see a lot of anomalies in the sky. You see anomalies coming out of the mountain. We've seen. I don't know. I've gone there every year, and every year I go there, and I'm very, very much glad that I do. It's a way to recharge your battery.
You have to register online for that. You can't just show up.
Oh yeah, you can't just show up. You got to register online because they have limited space up there, and you know but it's worth it. And you,
Clean and sober place.
yeah, it's clean and sober. So don't go up there expecting to smoke dope and seeing aliens or Bigfoot standing in the orchard. I wasn't stoned when I saw Bigfoot standing in the orchard. I was less caffeinated though. I was drinking coffee and I was being my grumpy old self in the morning, and all of a sudden I see something standing. I go, Bigfoot! And I went, oh shit, I don't have a camera. It was weird. It was the funniest thing. It was the idea. Remember when you'd go with your dad and you'd go fishing and you see this huge bass about the size of your little brother? And you're pulling it and all of a sudden it falls off the hook and you go, shit, no one's gonna believe me. No one's gonna believe me. That's exactly what happened with this. I saw this thing, and to be honest, I thought it was Robert Plant. Sorry, Robert Plant.
Yeah.
I know a lot of women think he's hot, and he is, I guess. I mean, he's getting older now, so he's kind of like, I don't know. But I saw like the wavy golden brown hair stuff. And when I realized it was Bigfoot, when I saw its face, it looked like a pug dog.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, bear, pig, Bigfoot. That's how my brain operated. Man, bear, pig, Bigfoot. And by that time, I had spilled my coffee on my crotch. I ran outside. And I'm standing there, and there was, gosh, there were just a number of people that ran out. And I think Cars Peel, this guy that runs this site called Lunatic Fringe, he's just as mellow as the day is long. Everything about him is mellow. It's just kind of pleasant mellowness with this guy. And when I saw Bigfoot and I yelled Bigfoot, this guy ran towards the Bigfoot, chasing him into the orchard. I thought I was going to kill him. I mean, it's like he was so mellow, and he's a wonderful guy. And he chased after that thing, and I gave him a big hug at the end. I says, God, thank you so much for trying to find the Bigfoot. And, but yeah, I mean, he couldn't have tackled it. It would have been sad.
Oh, yeah, that would have
Because he's just a great guy. And he was there, and I just remember the look on his face when I saw the Bigfoot. He saw it too, and he ran after it. It was remarkable. Yeah, that's what happens to ESETI. Expect the unexpectable. Expect a learning experience, a spiritual experience. What James calls the downloads. Expect downloads into your brain. You'll feel them. You'll be either elated, or you'll cry, or you'll stomp your feet, or you'll just lay back and go, this is like, it's like being high without the drugs. It's awesome. I'm not exaggerating when I say it. Everybody who goes and says the same thing. They feel something different when they go, and it's an amazing feeling. Yes. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Clyde, two quick questions, kind of interlocked. The first question is, what is the end result of the outcome of the chemtrails? And number two, what could be told to the people who don't want to believe that this kind of thing is happening? The whole, ionosphere being charged up with chemicals and particles and metals.
I would say that the end result of the chemtrails is to geoengineer the planet and to take the electrojet and screw with it. That's what they're doing. They're screwing with the electrojet. They can guide storms by screwing up the electrojet. Like Hurricane Katrina. They can steer it. They can create drought in areas where they want to impoverish a state. They have that power, and you can see how they lay chemtrails. In fact, by the way, they just passed a law saying that there no longer could be chemtrails being laid in the skies over Nevada. Yeah.
Will it work? Does it matter?
I don't know if it'll work.
Is it enforceable?
Exactly.
I don't know if the chemtrail police are going to be flying around going, pull over there, guy. You're letting off a little bit too much air for the back of your, I don't know.
Why hasn't it rained all summer either?
You know what? Because they start the trails here and they move east. And by then they pick up enough steam. I mean, that's why we've been having the horrible weather in the Midwest.
If you look also, there are days I go up to work. I work up at PDX Airport, and I'm leaving Sunnyside, and I'm looking up at the sun, and there's a huge rainbow halo going around the sun, and there's all the plastics and the barium salts and aluminum dioxide they're placing into the atmosphere, and people don't want to believe it.
Well, it's because of the fact that they don't want to think that they have no control over their lives. They think the government's got everything under control and you don't have to worry and you can go to bed at night knowing that they give a shit about you. They don't. They don't care. And that's why they'll go ahead and pollute all they want. You know, let's call out that pollution. Let's call out the damage to the planet's been caused by war. Do you think the military-industrial complex is going to be blamed for climate change? No. Well, yeah, I heard depleted uranium. Here, here. You know what depleted uranium is? Political correct way of saying radioactive shit. That basically is blown into England and giving people cancer. That has made certain areas of the planet uninhabitable.
Hermiston.
Huh?
Hermiston.
Hermiston.
What about the BX war gas facility they have up there that's leaking all that crap into the...
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, there was a, I can't remember where it was. I think it was in Arkansas. They had a huge pipe burst, gasoline everywhere in the water. So if that guy that was on my show saying that pipelines don't break and those Indians have nothing to bitch about, have them read about how all that gasoline got into that water and destroyed the water over there. I think it's in Arkansas. I was just reading about that today.
What about the sinkhole with all the radioactive water running in?
Which sinkhole's that, Roger?
The one over in, where's that? Down south, I can't remember where it's at.
I got to read about that.
Sinkhole opened up where they have all the radioactive storage.
Sinkhole opened up radioactive storage. What? Down south?
Down into the water table.
So now we have what? We have this this sinkhole full of radioactive water? That doesn't surprise me. Okay, go ahead.
Of all the sinkholes that are all over the world
Mm-hmm.
and happening more frequently.
Yeah.
Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
That was.
I think that's because of magma displacement. I'm thinking that, you know, between the fracking and CERN, I think we're basically turning the planet into Swiss cheese underground, and everything's basically falling. I mean, you got to have water or magma or something under the ground to create these sinkholes, because what it does is, you know, when I worked at the county in construction, any water that went underneath a cave-in, it was called a cave-in. We'd have to do cave-ins all the time on the road. If you do road construction, you know what I'm talking about. Cave-ins were when water got underneath the asphalt, it would cause it to sink. So we had to go in, we had to dig it all out again. We had to put oil down, fresh tar again, and then put mulch over it, make sure it's nice and soft and nice and smooth. And yeah, that's what cave-ins were. What sinkholes are cave-ins from hell. And people get sucked into them. And so, yeah, that's why we're seeing them. It's because there are things that are going underneath the earth that are basically digging away at what's below it. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I know this is a tough subject for you, but for politics-wise, what effect do you think that Snowden, Assange, and Bradley Manning / Chelsea Manning are going to have on this election that we're coming up in now?
I think they're the fourth estate.
Do you think that Snowden is working with the Russians, or do you
No,
think
I think that Assange and Snowden and Manning and all of these guys that are whistleblowers are the new fourth estate. They're the new media.
How much suppression do you think that we'll get from the rest of the world?
How much what?
Suppression that we'll get, or disinformation that we'll get through the rest of the world for
That-
our elections, especially after the Brit exit.
I think that makes it more fun. We live in times where we think that just because you have a suit and a tie and you look good on camera, you're telling the truth. And you know, one thing I want to talk about Ed Snowden is that everybody's saying he's a traitor and blah blah blah. No, he's not a traitor. You know what he did? He told us everything we already knew, but he basically expanded upon it to where people said, "Holy shit, I didn't think it was that bad," and then he made it sound worse. He didn't jeopardize anybody's lives. That's all political spin. But see, that's the fun of living in times where information is free. There's disinformation and there's information. And you got to become skilled at figuring out what is and what isn't disinformation.
Hell, they made a movie about it.
Yeah. Well, it's not treason. It's just it's a revolutionary act. And it's blockable by Facebook and by Twitter. Go ahead.
I have a friend that has cancer here.
Uh,
And the question is, she wants to know what about you went through with your chemo and radiation. Did you go through any of that?
no, I didn't get chemo.
Do you
I was carved up like a turkey 3 times in the operating
So
room.
what is your thoughts about chemo and radiation?
Oh my God.
They have proton.
I would say yes, find proton therapy.
Yeah, proton therapy.
Use laser therapy. I would use the lasers before I get to that point, if I ever got to that point. I know that, I hope that I don't get to face that in my life, because I know I'm prone, and that's the scary part. But I don't know. I've heard more doctors tell me that they wouldn't take chemo if they had cancer. And now we have new methods to do it. I suggest get opinion after opinion after, what kind of cancer are we looking at here? Huh?
Breast cancer.
Breast cancer. I would say, look for alternatives. Like what? Late stage? Late stage? I still would get more opinions, and I still would go, I wouldn't give up hope. At all. I mean, you know what it is now? And that too, yes, somebody said sugar. Cancer loves sugar. Don't have any sugar in your diet. You can live without it. Yeah, have an alkaline body. Turmeric, take a lot of that. That shrinks the tumors. Cinnamon does too. I'm taking that and it's working for me. I take a capsule. Longevity gives me a capsule that I take. So, and like I said, I don't know if I told on the air, I went and had my last screening. I have a couple lesions, but they're not growing. Okay? Yeah, thank you. They're not growing. So that's good news. And I'm keeping them from not growing.
I did a year of chemo.
You did? What did it do to you? Did it make you feel crap? I bet you felt like shit. Yeah. Well, I would say they have other methods now. And I would look into those and see, and hopefully they're not going to look at it as experimental, because that's happy Obamacare, they don't tell you about that. They don't tell you about experimental things and how insurance companies go, I don't know about that.
Alternative methods.
Yeah, alternative
were
methods.
naturalistic.
You got marijuana as an alternative?
I haven't used marijuana to cure cancer. And I'll tell you this, and even when I talk about longevity is not a miracle cure, and don't think for 1 minute that I'm pushing it as a miracle cure. It's not. It helps. You know what the miracle cure is? Your own mind. Remember when I told everybody about losing weight and how I'm pushing these pills and these supplements, but you're not going to have them work for you unless psychologically you're preparing to be healthy.
Happiness and living well.
Right? You got to do the work. You got to be psychologically ready. You got to say to yourself a number of things. Do you want to breathe when you wake up every day? I wasn't breathing. Do you want to walk? I wasn't walking. Do you want to be able to, not have to count to 3 before lifting your leg to get in the car? These were the things that I was thinking about. I thought, yeah, now's the time. And there are bigger things too. I have a family. I have a wife and I have a stepson. I have another son. Family is a big motivator. And Janine has been a big motivator in my life for close to 9 years. And we've had, I'm not saying that it's been perfect, but it's been damn close. It's been damn close. And I don't know where she is, who came in. Janine, I love you wherever you are. Okay, I love you, Janine.
There ain't no perfect, there's only getting along.
So, anyway, any other questions? We're almost out of time, right? Okay. What's that?
Can I comment about the cinnamon bark? Don't swallow anything your body tries to release out of your mouth. You spit that out. And cinnamon bark will take out any of those white pussy things in the back of your throat.
Right.
And also, cancer is electrical. You can ground it out with a 9-volt battery. Do not use lithium-ion batteries, but an alkaline battery, if you have breakthrough pain.
Oxygen, yes. Oxygen too.
And oxygen.
Yeah, oxygen helps as well. Oxygen will kill anything. That's another reason why we're sick, is because we're not getting enough oxygen to our bodies. We need to get as much oxygen. That's why they tell you to exercise. Oxygen is important. Gosh, he wants, go ahead, one more thing.
I had a question relative to what you opened up with.
Sure.
I felt like I was in church earlier.
Oh.
Talking about the whole identity politics thing.
Yes.
You know, you mentioned, you know, a couple ways that, you know, you might talk to somebody who's, you know, kind of brainwashed that way. But in the end, isn't that stuff all kind of...
Give him a microphone if you can. He's talking about the identity politics.
Yeah, I was saying earlier when you were talking about the identity politics, I had a feeling as if I was in church. I understood what you were communicating. You were very articulate.
Thank you.
But do you think that, you know, because those things are, in the end, using human nature against humans,
right?
You know, do you really think that there's anything that can really be done about that?
It's how you word things. Don't speak in absolutes about your political ideologies. If you really want to work with someone, speak at them like, for example, that appears to be a microphone right there. But it also appears to be a hairy doll's head sitting on a stand. It's a miniature version of Bill Clinton's head. I mean, if you speak in that way, it appears that this is so. Allegedly, they've said this. There are a lot of people that have said, but I don't know who they are, and I don't know if they can even track them down, that have demonstrated that from time to time, this isn't the way it is. You use the same newspeak against them as they're programmed for.
So you are optimistic that there is hope as far as...
I'm always optimistic. I'm a sickening optimist. I may talk doom and gloom, but I want the world to be perfect. I want it to go in a different direction, and that's what I'm doing. It's a lost cause, I know, but damn it, I want everybody to be happy. I want to be happy too. I want to be able to point out some of the silliness that we're going through right now that people will say, you know, that's right, it is kind of silly. And in the process, I look silly because no one wants to believe that just a few common things like using newspeak against them, speaking to them on their ground. They use all kinds of neuroprogramming words and things that people just always go, I'll listen, they're magic words, I'll listen. But then if you turn those magic words and you say, well, it just appears to be this. I don't know if it's real or not. They get fidgety because they're realizing that you're not part of it. What? You're not part of this? No, I think another way completely, and it's not black or white. It's not Republican or Democrat, it's not red state or blue state. It's the state versus you. And it always has been. It's you against the House, and the House wants to win so bad that they'll do everything, even cheat, to win. When I play 21, I play to win. I don't play for skill. That's for pussies. I'm not going to do that. Is that it? All right, guys, I want to tell you, we got stuff over here, books and cool things. It supports the show. Come on by, say hi to Ron. Thank you all for coming out to the Ground Zero Lounge. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.